Welcome back to the Infinity Travel AZ Studios. I have Richard Bravo back with AmaWaterways today. How are you, Richard?
Good, excellent. Thank you so much, Cindy. Happy to be back.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you back. Today, we're going to learn a little more about Vietnam and Cambodia's Mekong River. I'm so excited. That picture behind you is beautiful.
This is Halong Bay. This is an option if you want to extend your trip. You know this, Cindy. We've always got pre and post options with all of our river journeys for Vietnam and Cambodia's Mekong River. We actually have 5 different options to choose from. So I'll be talking about those as well. But this is one of those just really immersive destinations. I mean, every one of our journeys, I could say, is immersive, but this one I think even goes a bit deeper, really. And I'll talk about some of those things too.
Awesome. Well, let's go for it. I'm ready.
All right, very good. So listen, I am actually going to go off camera right now because I really want everybody to be able to really just focus on the beautiful images from this area and just really be taken by this presentation. Hopefully, any questions though, please enter them in the chat box. We'll be sure to get to those at the end of the presentation. But thank you everybody for joining us. So I will return at the very end here. I'm going to go off camera for just a bit. And with the beginning of every presentation with AmaWaterways, we just like to say thank you for taking the time to join us. We know that there's a lot of other things you could be doing. We know that at this time, for the past year now, everybody's been spending a lot of time on virtual meetings and staying connected with friends and family. So we don't want this to be something that feels like a chore at any level. We want this to really just be informative and hopefully inspire you a bit. So the Mekong River with AmaWaterways actually goes through 2 countries that we're going to be traveling through on the river, of course. That's Cambodia and Vietnam. Both of these places are just, I guess the best way to say it is that if you haven't been to really any part of Southeast Asia, these are some of the most warm, hospitable people, I think, really on the face of the planet. Just incredibly nice, very warm, like I mentioned too, not to mention the great cuisine. And just all the things you're going to be experiencing along the way. This is a journey where you're going to really get a mixture of different experiences, from the colonial mansions in the big cities to the rural villages, historic pagodas to the monasteries, the day markets to the night markets. You can be having this gourmet cuisine and walk right out into the street where there's this now exotic street food that you're going to want to try as well. Not to mention the diverse landscape that you're going to be passing through also. So we've got 2 different itineraries that we offer. We've actually got Charms of the Mekong and Riches of the Mekong. And the primary difference is really that one goes northbound and one travels southbound. So for the river journey, you're traveling between Kampong Cham, making your way down to Mito, the city of Mito, a little bit on the southern peninsula there. And then you have pre and post options. Like I mentioned, you can spend some additional time in Bangkok, Thailand. So you can take in a 3rd country. You can go up to Hanoi or Halong Bay, or you can spend some additional time down in Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon, as well as Siem Reap. So lots of things you can do to take this 7-day cruise and build it all the way up to 16 days if you like. So just for the purposes of this presentation, let's say that we're starting out in Siem Reap in Cambodia. Again, a beautiful city here. You're going to find a lot of the French colonial as well as the Chinese style architecture throughout the city in different parts. Looking for opportunities to go out and explore, plenty of museums, restaurants, souvenir arts and crafts to choose from. Maybe you want to take in a traditional Aspar dance. The Aspar dancers, I think we've all seen maybe in different movies or television, where the women wear these beautiful outfits, kind of form-fitting, very colorful traditional dresses, as they create these really graceful, sort of sinuous gestures with their arms, hands, and various poses that are actually signifying and narrating these classical myths or religious stories from their culture. So that's something that you can do down in Siem Reap if you like. And then because it's so close to Angkor Wat, just out of town, this is certainly another highlight that you will not want to miss. Major attraction, of course, like I mentioned, close by Siem Reap. Originally, it was actually constructed as a Hindu temple, and it was dedicated to the god Vishnu for the Khmer Empire. Then it was gradually transformed into a Buddhist temple towards the end of the 12th century, and it served as a main temple in this intricate network of structures ever since. So this is something that you will absolutely not want to miss. You can't travel this far and then not taking a visit to Angkor Wat. So let's say that you got into Siem Reap a little bit earlier. You had a chance to take in those additional nights there. Now you're going to board, and you'll forgive me, this Amsterdam, Netherlands. Certainly this is not that. This is my just working with different slides, and I inadvertently let this in there. So I hope this doesn't pop up again. My apologies. This is actually the Amadora. This beautiful ship was constructed in 2015 has 62 staterooms, holds a maximum guest capacity of 124 guests. It's an all balcony ship that we have here also. Beautiful French decor, colonial designs throughout the ship too. It's certainly one of the most beautiful ships on the water. So this again is going to be your home away from home during that duration. This is a look at the dining room on board the ship, and there's 2 restaurants on board every one of our vessels. This main dining room would operate more as what I would call a progressive dining experience, meaning that as you're moving throughout your journey, visiting different regions between these 2 countries, you're going to be tasting a lot of those very local cuisines along the way too. We bring those experiences on board the ship, including the drinks and different things too for guest experience. The staff on board, if you've never sailed with AmaWaterways, these are the folks that really bring it all together. I could share a lot about this, but I will simply say that when guests are writing their comments back to us about their experiences, very often, if not more so the case, we hear more about our cruise managers and the staff on board than even the destinations. So again, they're incredibly knowledgeable. They're gonna make you feel like family once you join us on board. The Chef's Table restaurant. This would actually be the other restaurant here. Now, this is an alternative dining experience. No additional charge for this. What makes this one really special is that it's a 6-course meal, but I'd really like to say it's more of a tasting menu, because within each of these courses, you'll have a couple of different options. And if you want to try those different options along the way, you can try as much as you want. There's up to 4 different wine pairings with this. Located at the back of the ship, these beautiful floor to ceiling windows to take in those wonderful views, especially at sunset here. And you get to witness the chef and his team preparing the meals, because they're within view behind this glass window station. So you can see them preparing the food, plating the food, and bringing it out. And it really is a favorite on board the ship. And then, of course, the onboard entertainment, right? So we want to bring those local experiences on board the ship. So in some ports, maybe when we're traveling from one location to the next, or if we're docked in town really late, we'll bring those experiences on board. Maybe it's going to be some of the local Aspara dancers, or maybe some local musicians, whatever it might be. We want you to really be immersed in those different experiences. And then just to look at some other places on the ship, this is a look up at the sun deck right here, where you're taking a wonderful sunset that evening. It's got that nice covering, because here, of course, it can be quite warm different times of year. You've got those nice ceiling fans as well. And then, of course, you have a nice pool to cool off also. So some great amenities and features on board the Amadora. And then I felt it was certainly necessary, before I move on to the destination itself, to show you a picture of one of our twin balcony staterooms. What makes this really, really unique, and AmaWaterways was the first river cruise line to create this, which is where we have a French balcony and a full step out balcony. So if you consider the time of year, or even just the time of day, when it could be a little bit cooler, it could be a bit warmer, you get the best of both options. So for that French balcony side, you got that nice little sitting area off to the right here. You have that window that's pressed all the way up against the railing. So from within inside the room, you're still going to be able to get some really wonderful views. But then you have the full step out balcony, where you can enjoy some coffee in the morning, some wine in the evening, and just different options, all from for your stateroom as well too. And then, so once we have boarded our ship then, right? So we boarded our ship, the Amadora. We're going to be leaving there, making our way down to a town called Onboard Bond. This was one of the few villages not destroyed under the Khmer Rouge regime, where you're going to have an opportunity to take a walking tour there. And then later that day, we're going to continue to the village of Oknati. It's Oknati, or Silk Village, or Silk Island. And this island is known for its rich tradition of silk weaving that has been preserved for centuries. There are 5 villages, approximately 200 families residing in this immediate area, and they've been doing this silk making traditionally for generations. In fact, this would be the area where, if you want to pick up a beautiful silk scarf, you can pick it up in some different areas, but I would really encourage you to wait for this one, because this is not going to be manufactured by machine. This is all handcrafted. You get to see the silkworms as they, are going through the cocooning process, and seeing how they're taking that silk off of them, how they're doing the dyeing, and then, of course, creating these beautiful silk scarves that we see right here as well. Then another highlight on this journey is going to be stopping in Phnom Penh, the city where the royal palace is located, and it's actually still the residence of the king. One of the main attractions is a visit to Adong. We're going to be able to enjoy a Buddhist blessing ceremony. So from the early 17th century through 1866, Adong served as the royal capital city of Cambodia. Until they visiting here, we're going to get a chance, like I mentioned, to do that, visit that Buddhist blessing ceremony. But then we give you some additional time even beyond that too. So once you get to enjoy that ceremony, there's an opportunity to kind of walk around, take in this beautiful art in the area, walk around the grounds. It's really important to us that we give our guests the opportunity to do things leisurely. We don't want them to feel incredibly rushed, like they just have time to do one thing and then they have to run back to the ship. So wherever we can make things leisurely, give you some extra time so that you can go enjoy some time with the locals, we're always going to incorporate that for you. Phnom Penh, the National Museum. So today we're going to take a tuk-tuk ride of the city, and then we're also going to visit the largest museum of cultural history and the country's leading historical and archaeological museum here. The museum houses one of the world's largest collections of Khmer art, which dates back centuries to the ancient times of the Khmer Empire. This is actually between 802 and 1431. So you know, anytime I travel, but especially when I see things that are that old, or when I witness things that I've only seen in history books or maybe on television, for me, there's that one very precise, special moment when you turn a corner and something comes into view. You know, this trip is really full of moments like that. And then also in Phnom Penh, there's an opportunity for guests that would like to visit the killing fields in the Genocide Museum. So this is, you know, where approximately 2 million Cambodians were killed under the Khmer Rouge regime. This, of course, is a more emotional experience. This visit is optional. Most of you may know that the Khmer Rouge was a brutal regime that ruled Cambodia from 1975 to 1979, was operated under the leadership of the Marxist dictator Pol Pot. His attempts to create a Cambodian master race through social engineering ultimately led to all these deaths. Those killed were either executed as enemies of the regime, they died of starvation, disease, or simply from being overworked. Then, of course, if you've seen the movie The Killing Fields, this is what it speaks to, but a very emotional experience, something that we do include for people that would like to take that in. Continuing on, another stop along the river is a small district of Kai Bay. Some unique opportunities here to go out and do some shopping with the locals. This is where many of the local families have made their living literally for generations on trading, selling goods, their fruits, their vegetables, spices, much, much more. And you can also find some of the famous caramel coconut candies. And yes, the snake wine that we see here in this picture, not sure that I would want to try it, but it is there as an option for you as well, just to bring home as a souvenir. But what they do here is they actually produce this by infusing the whole snake in rice wine or grain alcohol. The snake venom proteins are unfolded by this ethanol process that they do, and then bringing it to a level where one can safely drink it. There is actually an opportunity where we're going to stop at a place where they make this. There's an opportunity to actually taste this if you would like, in addition to that coconut candy that I mentioned, as well as popped rice. And the popped rice is actually created by pouring into this large hot pan with sand and stirred until the rice starts to pop. Then it becomes this, they mix in some sugar and some ginger and pour it into this mold, cut it into some pieces for you to be able to try as well too. But again, just one of those experiences when you're traveling and you want to try some of the things that the locals are doing. Then another fun part of the journey here is going to be to experience the local means of transportation. So in addition to traveling on board the ship, there's going to be opportunities to ride in a tuk-tuk or on a trishaw. There might even be an opportunity to ride in an ox cart. So these are all different things that we look to incorporate. This really isn't the very best picture because there's another shot that actually goes down along the river that's just incredibly scenic. But again, these are different things, and all along you're going to have expert guides with you. So it's not as though we're just transporting you simply one place to the other. We're going to be trying to educate you and share some of those different things from the history and the culture with you along the way in those different times as well. And then we're going to finally make our way further into the town of Ho Chi Minh City, right? So we're going to get into Ho Chi Minh City, and then we're going to disembark the AmaWaterways and have a time to experience all the things that Ho Chi Minh City has to offer. This is a vibrant town. There's lots to do here. It's estimated that there's about 13 million residents that live in the city, not to mention about 8 million motorbikes as well too. You got to watch out for those. So lots to do here and explore here. In fact, a couple of different things that you may want to do. One of them would be taking in a trip to the historic post office. Yes, it is just a post office, but it was created in the French colonial times. It's beautiful, beautiful architecture. It's among the most impressive throughout Southeast Asia. And it's actually erroneously been attributed to Gustav Eiffel as having been the architect, but it was in fact someone by the name of Marie Alfred Falhu, who is an acclaimed architect in chief design over this particular building. And then I wanted to show you one picture inside of it, so you can just see those beautiful arches. There's also these really wonderful old telephone booths that you get to see as well. In addition to this, there's also an opportunity to visit the Cathedral of Notre Dame. This is actually the Cathedral Basilica of Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception. Cathedral was constructed between 1863 and 1880, and is really well known for its distinctive bell towers, in addition to the fact that all the materials to build this basilica were brought in from France. So that again makes it really, really unique too. So this is in the historic French Quarter area, and of course there's a chance to visit that. And then something else that's really, really interesting, if you may have heard of the Cuoi tunnels, this is actually an extensive underground network of tunnels that stretches approximately 150 miles. It was actually the communist forces that began digging a network of these tunnels under the jungle terrain of South Vietnam in the late 1940s during their War of Independence from French colonial authority. Tunnels were often dug by hand, only a short distance at a time. So you can imagine how long this took. A bit later, these were used by the North Vietnamese during the Vietnam War and helped them to really just remain covert. But there was at one time, I think about 12,000 people living under this expansive network. They had different hospitals down here. One way that they would actually get fresh air into here was they would actually drill these holes up to the surface, and they would have these like straw-like reeds that would allow them to get some air down into the tunnels down here. And then here's just another look inside to see kind of what those tunnels look like as well too. So that really is the main overview of what you can see on this particular trip. Again, we just really wanted to give you the highlights. And then again, don't forget about the other optional pre and post extensions that I mentioned. So there's Halong Bay, known for its emerald waters, thousands of towering limestones, kind of like you see right here in the picture. But you can also take in the other locations that I mentioned. There's Siem Reap, Ho Chi Minh City, Halong Bay that we're looking at here, Hanoi, as well as Bangkok. So lots to take in. And then I'm just going to finish with a brief note. If you joined me for some other presentations before, I think you may have heard this, but I think it's an important reminder just to give a really quick state of the business, things that people are asking about and things that you're probably curious about. We've got a really wonderful fleet. In addition to all of our ships right now that we see right here, the latest ones that came out in 2019, we're bringing on an additional 3 this year also. So 3 new ships coming on board this year, and all of our ships are completely paid for. So AmaWaterways carries no debt. That's incredibly important for you to be aware of. We are financially stable. We've got some very strong financial backers that we work with as well. If you've heard of the Sataris Group, the Rothschild family, the Peugeot family, these are some of the partners that we work with. So I share this because we're not going anywhere. We're going to be around here. We've already opened up our book for 2023 if you're really looking to plan further ahead. The other part is that I wanted to mention, last year we did actually have a very successful 4-month sailing season. Now this was actually 4 months that we sailed on the Rhine River. It was exclusive to the German-speaking audience. So why am I sharing this with you? The main reason I'm sharing it is because when COVID came on the scene last year, AmaWaterways, along with everybody else, started to put plans together to, doing their research to see what do we need to do to protect the experience that our guests have come to know and love when we can return to the waters. But more importantly, how are we going to protect our guests, keep them safe, as well as our crew? And we were able to put those things into practice. We were the only North American cruise line to have this opportunity due to this chartered venture from this German company. And nobody got sick of COVID the entire time that we sailed. Guests loved it so much that we had a number book a second trip and even a third trip with us. A few things that I'll mention is that we sailed with no more than 100 guests on board. Our shore tours went out with no more than between 10 to 15 guests maximum for those different shore excursions that we were operating on. When you go out on our shore tours, all of our guests are outfitted with something called a quiet box. And this enables you to listen in with your own earpods, your own earplugs, and listen to the tour guide, but you can safely be distanced 40, 50 feet away, so you don't have to be huddled around in a small group. So once again, with that distancing, you can see in this picture here in the lounge, you've got that plexiglass up in the area. And majority of the time, guests do not have to wear a mask. We only ask that they wear a mask when they're walking throughout any of the public spaces. So again, all those things that we put in practice, we even put together a special menu where you could dine in your room. We had never done that before. One other thing, the last part I'll mention on this is that we have actually built into the structure of our ships. This was going on well before COVID, but every one of our public rooms, every one of our private staterooms has their own separate air and heating coiling system, which basically means that it's air in and air out of those rooms specifically. This is not air that's being circulated throughout the entire ship. So I thought those were important things to share before we kind of wrap some things up here. This next slide is really just kind of a brief, overview of some of the things that I mentioned that we want you to know you can travel with confidence. Once again, we were able to put these things into practice. Thank God nobody got sick on board. But again, we were just being as adaptable as we needed to. And, it was very, very good and successful. So that about wraps up what I wanted to be able to share today. And I don't know if we might have any questions on anything, Cindy, but happy to answer those or any questions you may have, Cindy. Oop, think you're on mute still, Cindy.
Yep, I'm still on mute and now never get used to that. I was just kind of amazed by the snake wine. I had never heard of that before. I love wine, but I'm not sure I could bring myself to taste that.
Yeah, I'm probably right there with you. Although, something like that I might do. Something else that they actually do then there for the really adventurous. I mean, you can find some areas where they have like the cooked insects of sorts, anything.
Oh yeah.
To even roaches and things like that. But they also do like this barbecued tarantula, if you even want to try something like that too. So a number of different things you can try if you're into those exotic things.
I'm a little bit of a wussy, I think. I couldn't do it. But that's why there's all kinds of different people out there, because obviously there's enough people to want something of that nature that they even produce it. So
that's right.
Interesting.
This is a really, again, I know I use the word immersive a lot, but it really, really is. I mean, this is one that I think stands out for those guests that have traveled with AmaWaterways to a number of different destinations. This is one that they seem to highlight in a special color. As amazing as all of our trips are, this is one that really just stands out in a unique way. It is quite popular, I would say, for anybody that's interested in doing this one. Definitely look to book this in advance. I'd say minimum 15 months.
Wow.
It's going to give you the best option in terms of the date that you want, maybe the cabin category and stateroom that you're looking for as well. The other part that I should mention too that I didn't share in the presentation is that we look to keep things as seamless as possible. So when you're even passing between, Vietnam and Cambodia, our cruise managers will handle everything for you very seamlessly in terms of your visas and getting you all checked in properly. So there's very little that you have to do in that regard.
Yeah, and that's important, and it's very nice that your cruise line does that. It just takes the headache off of the individual. So
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Silk market, or not the silk market, but where she was weaving the silk and everything, though, that would be really interesting to see.
Absolutely.
God. Yeah, I've not been to that part of the world. I've been to Hong Kong, and that's about it. So, or China. I've been to China.
Yeah. But once again, all Southeast Asia, if you've been to in any part of this region, specifically the Southeast portion here, as I mentioned before, incredibly warm, very hospitable. I mean, they just, it's just innate in their culture, so to be around that is just really, really wonderful. And again, I love pretty much any type of Asian food too. So you're going to get some of that really authentic Asian food down the area.
Yeah. And that would be awesome. Yes. Very, very impressive. The pictures were gorgeous, as you say. So you piqued my interest, that's for sure.
Excellent. Good. And so, reach me if there's any other questions that you may get afterwards too. But I know you're recording this, so I know when you'll send it out to some of your guests that they may have some other questions afterwards. But thank you for the opportunity once again. And
of course.
if there's any other presentation that we want to do, you know where to reach me. Happy
Oh,
to.
I'm sure we'll be doing more. I'm enjoying these. It's been a lot of fun and very informative. So I will reach out to you soon. I don't have my calendar up. I'm not sure if we have another one set up for April. I think we might have, but I don't remember offhand. So I will double check with you on that. And if we don't, we'll get one set up. So.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for a wonderful presentation, and I will be in touch very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now.